Morning, students. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So just to give you an update, I revisited the syllabus again for term 2. So in term 2, the first chapter, that is electromagnetic waves, I told you there is one subtopic that is pending, right? Displacement current. But the topic is actually not there. It is deleted. So we are done with this chapter. In fact, they have told only qualitative analysis. We have done some problems also based on this chapter. Based on the topics from this question. So I think we are good to go. This chapter we have completed actually. So displacement current is deleted. Make a note. It's not there. Okay. So I'll just give you a summary of this chapter, and then we are good to start the next chapter also. Electromagnetic waves is the only chapter which is very, very small. The other chapters onwards, it will take a little bit of time for us to complete. So let's see. So in electromagnetic waves, let me give you a summary. So introduction is we have to understand what an electromagnetic wave is. This is there. The topic 8.2 displacement current is not there. Okay. So all these things are not there. We need not worry about it. Then with respect to an electromagnetic wave, we need to understand what is the source of an electromagnetic wave. We have discussed it. Then we understood what is the nature of an electromagnetic wave. We have seen the equations also. We know the diagram, right? We know the properties, and we have solved the important problems also. Again, this problem is not required. Okay. And 8.4 electromagnetic spectrum, this alone I gave as self-study. This is only for 2 pages. So you guys can prepare notes for it and reach out to me if there are any doubts, right? I hope you guys are clear. If you see, the total chapter has only 4 subtopics, out of which 1 subtopic is removed. So we have completed the remaining 3 subtopics. So just give me a conclusion. Is there anyone having any kind of a doubt with respect to this chapter? Is everything clear? Okay. So I'm assuming that everything is clear. And I've shared the notes also for this, the handwritten notes. So you go through it. Okay. So as I told, we are good to start the next chapter itself, that is ray optics. Okay. So this chapter number 9 is the first chapter of your second volume, not term. So this is the first chapter. You have 2 books, right? It's the first chapter of your second volume. And the name of the chapter is Ray Optics and Optical Instruments. It's an interesting topic. Somebody's mic is on, please switch it off. Okay. Yeah. So if you recollect this concept, this you have already learned a part of this chapter in your 10th standard. Can you tell me what is the name of the chapter in 10th? Light. You would have learned reflection and refraction. Yes or no? So you would have learned this chapter already. So if you see this chapter, the first part, that is the ray optics, is exactly the replica of this thing, except the fact that we will see the reason behind all the mathematical expressions that are existing. That is, in your 10th standard, maybe you would have learned something called as a mirror formula. You would have learned something called as the lens formula, all those things. But you would have not known what is the reason for it. Like why exactly the formula, how exactly the formula has come or something like that. So here we will be seeing the reason for it. So before that, I just wanted to tell you one more important point. There is another name for this chapter, ray optics. It is also called as geometric optics. Okay. So the reason is very simple. Why we call it as geometric is because it is derived from the word geometry. If you see, most of the formulae that are existing in this chapter are derived based on the geometric principles. Okay, that is why ray optics is sometimes referred to as geometric optics also. Okay, so this is the basic introduction of this chapter. So that is the first point to be noted. Okay, so I hope you guys are making a note. Secondly, I want to understand what exactly optics means. What is your understanding of optics? So if somebody asks you, define the term optics, what will you say? It can be in your own words.
It is related to light.
Okay.
Propagation of light.
The path of light,
Something.
sir.
Okay. So propagation of light means, what are you trying to say? Like, see, if I ask you what is
Visible
electrostatic,
light, sir. Visible light or any
Okay,
rays kind of.
okay. So this word optics has something to do with optical instruments. So optics is a branch of physics. What you people told us, right? Optics is a branch of physics which mainly deals with the properties of light. Especially when you talk about light, we are talking about visible light. See, you would have seen many optical shops, right? Many spec shops, or there are doctors who handle the problems with respect to eyes. They give us optical instruments like specs. You would have seen a telescope, compound microscope, all these things you would have heard at least, right? So all these optical instruments fall under a branch of physics which is called as optics, because all the basic usage these optical instruments make use of is visible light. Okay, so branch of physics which deals with the properties of light is called as optics, and one of the branches in that optics is ray optics. That is chapter number 9. If you see chapter number 10, it is called as wave optics. Okay, we will see what is the difference between these two at that point of time. Okay, so there is a reason why this chapter 9 is there after chapter 8. Maybe in your 10th standard you would have not known, maybe you would have known or not known, I don't know, but they would have not stressed on this point that light is a electromagnetic wave. Especially the light which we are trying to talk about is the visible light. Visible light is a electromagnetic wave, right? So it is here. If you see the spectrum, the visible light is lying somewhere over here, right? And this visible light alone has wavelength ranging between what values? It has the wavelength ranging between 400 nanometer to 700 nanometer, where 400 nanometer is with respect to the violet light and 700 nanometer is with respect to the red light. So the combination of all these colors, violet to red put together, gives us what color? Gives us the white light. This is also known, you would have learned the concept of spectrum. Right, don't worry, we'll be revisiting. Even if you don't remember, not a big deal. I'm just trying to say, because you would have at least heard these words. Okay, there's white light. So that is what we are going to concentrate in this chapter. Okay, so let me just read out certain points. Nature has endowed the human eye with a sensitivity to detect electromagnetic waves within a small range of the electromagnetic spectrum. So electromagnetic radiation belonging to this region of spectrum, whose wavelength ranges from 400 nanometer to 750 nanometer, is called as light. To be more specific, it is also called as visible light. Okay, it is mainly through this light and the sense of vision that we know and interpret the world around us. So this is a basic introduction of what exactly is happening. Okay, secondly, what are all the properties that you know with respect to light? We know that light is an electromagnetic wave whose speed in vacuum or air takes a value of 3 into 10 power 8 meters per second, which is the highest known value to us, okay, which is the highest speed that is attainable in nature. No object can travel beyond this speed. That is what they say. Okay. And in this chapter, what we are mainly going to deal with is under ray optics topic. We will be first discussing reflection of light. Then we will be discussing about refraction of light. Then we will be discussing about prism. Then we will be discussing about optical instruments. Okay. So in today's class, we will be mainly concentrating only on the phenomenon of reflection. Okay. So let's get started. So write down the heading as the reflection of light. Right. So this is a known factor to you guys. So what do you mean by reflection of light? So light has a phenomenon, or light exhibits a phenomenon of reflection. So what does it mean? So what exactly do you mean by the concept of reflection of light? Reflection of something.
So it reflects back when it attacks the surface or any polished surface.
That's right.
Redirecting the path.
Diverts back at 180 degree or something, or at a theta.
Need not be 180 degree. See, when I ask about reflection, you can, instead of reflects back, can use some other term. Like if you redirect.
Bounce, sir.
Bounce is more appropriate word. Yes. So we can say bouncing back of light. Correct. Right. Bouncing back of light after encountering what kind of a scenario? After it strikes a smooth and a shiny surface. Can I say something like this? Right, this is called as reflection of light. So generally, the smooth and the shiny surface that we deal in our syllabus is mirror, but it need not be mirror always. It can be any surface, right? So when light is falling on a particular surface, when it bounces back, then we call that phenomenon as reflection of light. Right. So similarly, when you talk about the reflection of light, there are certain laws associated with it. What are the laws of reflection? Okay, before I say laws, let me draw and show you how it looks like. So if I have a smooth and a shiny surface, okay, see that shiny surface should be in such a way that one side it is transparent and the other side it is opaque. If you have this kind of a surface, this is what we call it as, generally we call it as a mirror. Okay, that mirror can be of an irregular shape also, but the ones which we will be considering is a plane mirror or spherical mirrors, which are classified into concave and convex. So generally when a light strikes, okay, this light is there. No, what is the name of this light? Or what is the name of this ray?
Incident.
You call it.
Incident.
So incident ray. So what is this point called as?
Point of incidence.
Correct. So it is called as the point of incidence. So when it is hitting the point of incidence, then there is an imaginary line that we can think of where you draw it through the point of incidence and perpendicular to the reflecting surface, and that line is called as
Normal.
normal generally means perpendicular. Perpendicular to whom? Perpendicular to the reflecting surface. So incident ray and normal. What is the angle that is measured between the incident ray and the normal called as?
Angle of incidence.
It's called as angle of incidence or incident angle. It's generally called as angle of incidence. Then what will happen to this light according to the definition? It will bounce back in a different path. Right. Now, what is the name of this ray? It's called as reflected So any ray that is traveling away from the mirror is considered to be the reflected ray, and the same normal is going to exist. Then this angle is called as R, which is called as the angle of reflection. Accepted? Okay. So these are all the definitions that are related to the ray diagrams with respect to a mirror. Correct? Huh? Now comes an important question. Now, from this, what are all the laws of reflection that we can frame? This is a very famous thing you would have known.
Sir, one doubt, sir.
Please tell me.
Sir, what is the difference when the mirror is transparent or opaque, sir?
Opaque in the sense, I'm not talking about one side, Rao. I'm talking about, see, if this is the reflecting surface, okay? If this is a reflecting surface, see, for example, you're looking at, you take your palm and look at it, no? So you're looking at the palm, right? You're able to see only the front side.
Yes, sir.
You're not able to see the back side. Why?
Opaque. It's not allowing the path of light to travel
Yeah,
through.
it does not, your hand does not allow the light to pass through it. Correct? It is bouncing back. That is why you're able to see your hand. You take your palm and keep it closer to light, you can see it more brighter because more amount of incident rays will fall on it and more light will get reflected. Whereas in dark, what will happen? You will not be able to see it clearly. So depending on the surface, you talk about reflection or refraction. So if you have a surface where one side is transparent and the other side, exactly the back side, is opaque, then that kind of a surface is technically called as a mirror. For example, when you're looking at your palm, you can call your palm as a mirror in this scenario. That's it. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay, because it is the one which is reflecting the light. So what does the loss of reflection mean?
The incident ray normal and reflected ray all lie in the same plane.
Incident ray, reflected ray, and normal all lie in the same plane. Second,
Angle of incidence.
angle of incidence is equal to angle of reflection. Correct? This is also known. See, you would have learned this law, but the proof for this we'll see it in the next chapter. Actually, there is a proof for it. Okay, why this thing is exactly happening? Let's try to understand the next chapter. As of now, you accept it. That is, angle of incidence is equal to angle of reflection. I hope I have answered this, right? Now comes an important question, that is the application of this particular laws of reflection. So where exactly do we apply this is what we are going to see. So whenever the concept of reflection comes into picture, the first thing that should come to your mind is mirror, because mirrors exhibit the phenomenon of reflection. So when you talk about a mirror, mirrors are basically classified into two types. One is a plane mirror and the second is a spherical mirror. So spherical mirrors are again basically classified into two types. What are they? Concave and convex, right? These are the things. Now we will see. Now we are going to see the first application with respect to a plane mirror. So you know the basics of ray diagram, right? If I take a plane mirror, if I take a plane mirror, for instance, now I will take this horizontal line on which I am placing an extended object AB. Okay. Now I have some questions to be asked. With respect to this image AB, with respect to this object AB, what kind of an image is formed by this mirror? Is it a real image or a virtual image? So you have plane mirror, right?
Real
You go and
image,
okay. So you go and stand in front of a mirror. You mean to say that You're able to see yourself, right, in the mirror, exactly of the same shape and size of what you are. You're able to see yourself in the mirror. You're trying to say that the image that you're seeing is a real image. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, let's think about it. So what will help us to understand how to locate the position of an image, position, nature, size of an image? It is the basic ray diagram, right? So for you to trace the location of image, what are the minimum number of incident rays that are required?
One, sir.
2.
You need 2 rays, right? So listen, with respect to the point A, if I take a ray parallel to the horizontal, now tell me what is the angle of incidence in this case?
90 degrees, sir.
So this is the mistake many people do. Think about it again. It is not 90. Think about it. What is the definition of angle of incidence? It is the
0
angle.
degrees.
Yes. It is the angle between the incident ray and the normal. Here, the ray itself is incident normal to the surface. Means the angle of incidence here is 0 degrees. Okay. When the angle of incidence is 0, what will be the angle of reflection?
0, sir.
0 means it will retrace its path. So what I'm trying to say is angle of incidence is 0 or normal incidence. They both mean the same. I hope you're not confused with this. When they say there is a light which is incident on the surface normal to it, normal generally means 90 degrees that comes to our mind. But in that scenario, what will happen to the angle of incidence? It will be 0 degrees. Please make a note of it. Okay, this is one of the rays. Secondly, I will take a ray which is hitting this point. It is up to us, right? If I take this angle as theta, then what will be the angle of reflection? According to the laws of reflection, it will be
Theta, sir.
it will be the same theta. Now tell me one thing. This is the first reflected ray. This is the second reflected ray. Now, are they getting converged or diverged?
Diverts, sir.
You know what is the meaning of diverged, right? The first reflected ray is traveling like this. The second reflected ray is traveling like this. Is there a possibility for this reflected ray and this one to meet on the left-hand side of the mirror?
No, sir.
No, right? Then the question is, how can you get a real image? So was your answer right?
No, sir.
So what do you mean by a real image? Real image is formed on the same side of the mirror. Correct? Huh? But with respect to a plane mirror, from the ray diagram, we are able to understand that they are getting diverged. Then how do you get a real image? Now, will you correct your answer? Is it a real image?
No, sir. It's virtual.
It is a virtual. So for you to get a virtual image, what are we supposed to do? Extend these rays in the reverse direction and join them. When you do that, you will get the image formed here. So whatever you are able to see in the mirror, you are seeing yourself in the mirror, right? That is actually a virtual image. A dash, B dash. So what is the beautiful property with respect to a plane mirror? If I take this distance as U, where there is the object distance, if I take this distance as V, which is the image distance, U will be equal to V. That is why if you see, the magnification is 1. Whatever you are, it exactly reflect back the same thing. Means it will not show you in an elongated position or a compressed position. Okay, you will not be extended or shrinked. You will exactly be of the same size. That is why the magnification is 1. And the last important property that the mirror exhibits, there is something called as lateral dash.
Inversion, sir.
It performs lateral inversion. You know what is the meaning of lateral inversion, right? Everybody knows it. So if this is the mirror, if you place a letter B like this, then on the other side, what will happen? You will be able to see something like this. Okay, means it will reverse and show. This is called as lateral inversion. I hope it is clear, guys. So what I wanted to tell from this concept is, whenever you talk about any kind of an optical instrument, whether it is a mirror or a lens or whatever it is, the basic things that we need to understand is how to draw a ray diagram and how to locate the image and find its magnification. Okay, I wrote the magnification as 1 year, but I'll give you a clear picture of it. Don't worry about it. Okay, so magnification is going to be 1. It has no units. Okay. Shall I move on? Did everyone copy this?
Copied, sir.
Copied? Okay. So next concept that we are going to discuss is spherical mirrors. So when you talk about spherical mirrors, they are basically classified. So why do we call them spherical mirrors in the first place?
They are part of the circle.
Yes, mirrors which are taken as, okay, I'll say mirrors which are a part of a sphere are called as spherical mirrors, right? So if you take a sphere in a two-dimensional view will look like a circle, then you try to cut it, okay, and take a part out of it. Suppose you're taking this part and let's say you draw a separate diagram like this and you have a separate diagram like this. Now what did I say a mirror is supposed to have? One side should be transparent and one side should be opaque, means the other side should be polished. So depending on which side you polish the part that you have taken out, the spherical mirrors are basically classified into 2 types, right? If you polish the outside surface, the bulged surface like this, what is the name of this mirror?
Yes, sir.
Concave.
Sorry, it is a concave mirror. If you polish the inner surface, then we call it as convex, right? Now we are going to see what are all the parts that are related to this particular spherical mirror. Let's see what they are. So if I take a spherical mirror like this, okay, then if I take this as A and B, the first important point to be noted here is we are going to deal with thin mirrors, or sometimes you can call them as small mirrors. Okay, small mirrors and thin mirrors here mean that the curvature is very small. So when I say curvature is very small, see this is an extended diagram. A and B will be separated. You're able to see this curvature, right? This curvature will be in such a way that it will almost look like a straight line. Okay, that is what we call it as a small mirror, or sometimes it is referred to as thin mirrors also. Okay, generally we call it as thin lens, but with respect to mirrors, they call it as small mirrors. Okay, so with respect to this mirror, between this point A and B, let's say the arc length is L. If you are able to consider a point exactly in such a way that the upper arc is L by 2 and the lower arc length is L by 2, then this point has a specific name. Any idea about what is the name of this?
Principal, sir.
It starts with P.
Pole, sir.
It's called pole. So this point is called as the pole. So write down, what does the pole mean? Pole is the center of the mirror surface. Okay. Second, since this is derived from a part of the sphere, you can imagine that there is a sphere existing like this. Can I think of it? If you imagine a sphere existing like this, then that sphere would have had a center. Then what is this called as? It's called as center of curvature and represented by the symbol C. Correct? So what is here also I'm using the word center. Here also I'm using the word center. What is the difference between both?
That is center of the mirror, but this center of the sphere.
That mirror is also a part of the sphere only.
Sir, center of curvature means the distance from the surface will be equal to the radius, no, sir.
Yeah, listen. Center na pointer. Point na you should not use the word distance. Distance na radius of curvature. Okay, center is a point. Let's speak about that point.
For pole, the point is on the surface. For center of
That is
curvature,
the
it's not.
very good. That is what. Yes, that is what we need to understand. When you talk about a pole lies on the mirror itself, on the surface of the mirror. That is why I use the word surface. Okay, whereas center of curvature will not be on the surface; it will be somewhere in the air. Okay, because it is derived as a part of the sphere. So, center of curvature is defined like this: center of the sphere of which mirror is a part of. Okay, so that's what we call it as center of curvature. Now, what we can do, you have a pole here, right? So, if you draw an imaginary line through the center of curvature and pole, what is that called as? If you draw an
Principal
imaginary
axis.
line, correct? This is called as the principal axis. So, principal axis is an imaginary line that is passing through the pole and the center of curvature. Correct? Now, the next question is distance. What do I call the radius of curvature as? So, radius of curvature is capital R. So, how do you define? It is a distance between.
Center of curvature and the surface.
Okay. Mostly we generally define it like this: distance between the pole and center of curvature. But what you told is right. It can be the distance between the center of curvature and the surface itself. Okay. 1 minute. Next. This is A and this is B, right? So this linear distance that you're defining between A and B is called as aperture. Okay. So what is aperture? Aperture is so this is a new term that you're learning today. It is a linear distance between A and B. So one important point here is smaller the aperture, smaller is the mirror. Okay. So all these things are simple. Now comes an important point, which is called as the principal focus, or simple terms, it is just focus. So principal focus is represented by the symbol capital F. Okay. So listen to this carefully, guys. Can anyone tell me what is the principal focus? If I take any ray parallel to the principal axis, and if I take another ray parallel to the principal axis, okay, then what will happen? So this is the point of it. Yes, this is the. So what is this point, guys? The point which I'm marking with red. What is this? This is the point of incidence. So what is the name of this ray? This is called as the incident ray. And this is also another incident ray. Correct? So this is a point of incidence. Generally, whenever you draw a ray diagram, at the point of incidence, what are we first supposed to draw? You should always draw the normal. Whenever you have the incident ray, at the point of incidence, you should draw normal. So with respect to a spherical mirror, how does a normal exist? So normal is an imaginary line that passes through the center of curvature and the point of incidence. Okay, please make a note of it. Normal for a spherical mirror will always be a line passing through what? The center of curvature and the point of incidence. You just have to join them. Right? Then, if this angle is theta, then according to the laws of reflection, what will happen? The reflected ray will also bend at the same angle theta with respect to the normal on the other side of it. Accepted? Similarly, I have another point here. So incident ray, I'll take another color. So this is a point of incidence. Now, what is the first thing I need to do? Tell me, guys. I need to draw the normal. So if this angle is taken as theta, then the reflected ray will also make the same angle theta. Now, these two are meeting at a point on the principal axis, and this is taken with respect to a concave mirror. Correct? So these two rays are going to meet at a point on the principal axis. And what is the name of this point? This is what we call it as focus. So basically, what does a focus mean? From all the story that we have heard till now, how will you define it?
Point where the reflected rays meet.
Okay. Where does a point lie?
Principal
The
axis.
principal axis.
So there is a point on the principal axis where the rays considered parallel to the principal axis after reflection meet. Does that make sense? So focus is basically a point. Please write it down. Focus is a point on the principal axis. Focus is a point on the principal axis where the incident rays parallel to the principal axis, where the rays parallel to the principal axis after reflection meet.
We can repeat it again, sir.
So it is a point on the principal axis where the incident rays parallel to the principal axis after reflection meet. Okay.
Sir, what is reflection meet, sir?
After reflection, Idra.
So this reflected rays meet, sir.
Yes, but yes, where the reflected rays meet means what I wanted to say is the incident rays should be considered parallel to the principal axis. That is what I wanted to mention. Or you can see if you want, you can write down another definition also. Incident rays considered parallel to the principal axis. See, nobody will ask you the definition, but you should know it. Considered parallel to the principal axis after reflection meet at a point on the principal axis called as principal focus. Okay, but I'd been using the word meet. Every time they'll not meet because they will meet with respect to what? With respect to a concave mirror. Let's try to draw the same diagram with respect to a convex mirror and see. Okay. So if I take a line like this is the principal axis. So this point is the pole. So where will the center of curvature with respect to this kind of a mirror lie? Will it be on the left or right?
Right, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, they should be on the right because this is how the sphere will get completed. So where should you place the compass to complete that sphere? Somewhere over here. Right. Now the incident ray will hit the transparent surface. Okay. If you take this as the incident ray, the point of incidence. So at the point of incidence, what are we supposed to draw? Normal, which passes through the point of incidence and the center of curvature. So if I take this angle as theta, after reflection, what will happen? This reflected ray will get reflected at an angle theta. Similarly, at the second point of incidence also, if I draw a normal, then what will happen? If this is taken as theta, the reflected ray will get reflected at an angle theta. Now, what can you say? This reflected ray and this reflected ray are getting diverged away from each other. Hence, they do not have the possibility to meet on a real-time basis. For that to happen, what we will do is we have to extend them in the backward direction like this to locate the position of image, and then what will this point be called as? It is still the focus where, with respect to a convex mirror, they tend to meet. So what we need, what the small point that you need to add is after reflection, meet or appear to meet is what you need to write. Because here, if you see, they are actually not meeting in real-time basis, but they appear as if they are coming from there. I hope I am clear, right? You're able to understand what I'm trying to say?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Sir,
So
so in
if
the case of convex, sir, doubt, sir.
please,
Sir, in case of convex mirror, real image is only formed, no, sir.
virtual. Convex mirror will
Sir,
never form an image.
Sir, but the image is being formed on the right hand side. That is in the
Right hand
portion of the sphere, sir.
with respect to a mirror, if you have the confusion, make a note of it. With respect to a mirror, if image and object are on same side, that is when you call it as real image. Okay. Whereas if image and object are on either side, then it is a virtual image. So to put it in very simple terms, if the reflected rays do not meet on the same side of the mirror, then it is a virtual image only. Whenever you're drawing these kind of dotted lines, dotted itself means imaginary. Virtual and imaginary, then it doesn't exist. Right? So they are forming at the back of the mirror. So it will always form a virtual image only. See, the best example is the rear view mirrors that you use in your vehicles. They're all convex mirrors only. They form a virtual image. That is why you're able to see.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So if the distance between the pole and the center of curvature is taken as the radius of curvature, then what will be the distance between the pole and the focus called as? There's also a term that you know.
Focal length, sir.
It's called as focal length, and it is represented by the symbol small f. Okay. Now, these are all the parts that are related to a mirror rays. Now, I'm going to I'll slightly start getting into the mathematical details of how you're going to deal. See, I'm not sure if you remember. Can someone tell me what is the relation between the focal length and radius of curvature? If you guys remember, you can tell me.
So the f is equal to 2
Was,
r.
sir.
F is equal to R is equal to F. Relation between, look at it, focal length is smaller, radius of curvature is bigger. Diagram itself is telling
F
you.
equal to 2R. Sir.
How can F be 2R?
R equal to 2S.
R
Sir.
is
Sorry,
equal
sir.
to
F is
two.
R is equal, yeah. So relation between focal length and radius of curvature. So focal length is F, radius of curvature is R. So you guys are saying R is equal to 2F, right? This is what you would have learned. But this R is equal to 2F is true only if the following assumptions are taken into consideration. One is the mirror should be small. Small mirror. That is, when I say small mirror, aperture should be small. In fact, it should be very small. Okay, when the aperture is very small, what will happen? The mirror is approximated to a straight line. It should be that small. Okay. Secondly, when aperture is small, angles considered in the diagram will be small such that sine theta can be approximated to tan theta can be approximated to theta. So these are all the assumptions that we will be doing. Only if these assumptions are taken into consideration, we will get the radius of curvature to be exactly equal to twice the focal length. Okay. So why I wrote sine theta is approximately tan theta is approximately equal to theta is because when the angles considered are very small, there is a principle like this. Limit theta tends to 0, sine theta is approximated to theta itself. This can be approximated to tan theta also. There is a mathematical principle. You think about it later. I'm not getting into the too much details. You think about it later. But these are all the two assumptions that we will be taking into consideration. Let me explain the main context alone. So if I take a concave mirror, okay, if I take a concave mirror, if I take a ray parallel to the principal axis, what will happen? After reflection, we know that it will meet at a point on the principal axis. Correct? So if I take this angle as theta, this angle will also be theta. What is this point called as? There is the focus, there is the center of curvature, there is the pole. So don't look at the indiscrepancies in the diagram. Let's concentrate only on the derivation part. If this is F and this is R, okay, remember, if I take this point as A, then PA is approximated to a straight line. Because the mirror, the distance between the endpoints of the mirror is very small, that is, aperture is very small, that PA can be approximated to a straight line. So when that is the case, observe, no? If I take this as theta and this as theta, how much will this angle be?
Theta, sir.
Is it theta?
2 theta, sir.
So how will you get it?
Theta plus theta.
So one line like this, one line like this. So if I take this as theta and this also as theta, so this is going to be 2 theta, right? Convinced? Right. When this is 2 theta, how much will this angle be? So if this is 2 theta, this will be how much? It will be 180 minus 2 theta.
2.
Okay. So if I take this angle as alpha, theta plus alpha plus 180 minus 2 theta should be equal to how much? 180
Theta, sir.
should be 180. No, it's a triangle. Oh, you're saying theta directly. So alpha should be equal to
Yes, sir.
theta. So this should also be theta. Now, are you guys clear with the diagram? Since I told PA can be approximated to a straight line, now wherever theta gets involved, we will be taking the right angle triangles into consideration. So if this is PF, this distance is F, and PA, let me call it as PA itself. Now, if I take the triangle APC, observe APC, then if I take this angle as theta, this will be R and this is still PA. So tan 2 theta is how much? PA divided by F. Tan theta is how much? PA divided by R. But I told you the angles are very small, that tan of an angle can be approximated to the angle itself. So 2 theta is equal to PA by F and theta is equal to PA by R. Take this and substitute it here. So 2 into PA divided by R is equal to PA divided by F. PA will get cancelled, which implies R is equal to 2F. Did you guys understand how it came? Okay. So that is why we say the radius of curvature is exactly equal to twice the focal length, provided what condition should be satisfied. It should be a small mirror. Small mirror in the sense, the aperture of the mirror should be so small that it can be approximated to a straight line. And secondly, all the angles will be very small.
Sir, could you go to the start of the derivation?
Yeah, 1 minute. Please make a note. So after this, we'll be going into the mathematical details.
Sir, I have a doubt in the first point, sir.
Please tell.
Sir, we say the mirror is approximated to a straight line, sir, but won't that change the diagram completely?
No, I didn't get you. It is
You
approximated
told
to a
that
straight
the
line.
mirror is approximated. The diagram will change, right, sir? If you consider
Diagram
it like that.
no. Diagram will not change because if I take a mirror like this, okay. Here you are able to see a zoomed version. Okay. Now, what if I consider a part of the sphere which is only of this much value? What can you say about this portion?
It's still part of the concave,
It is a part, but how does it look to our eyes?
like a straight line.
Like a straight line, right? And this is the actual part that you have taken into consideration, but in a zoomed version like this. That is what I
Okay.
meant by it. Okay, see, if I take this portion, do you think it is easy for me to draw all the ray diagrams and show you? It is not, right?
No, sir.
Yes. So actually, this is the part that you're considering.
Understood.
Got it? Yeah. So, did everyone copy the derivation, guys?
Yes, sir.
Right? I hope there is no doubt, right? So,
No, sir.
what I did is, I derived it with R is equal to 2F for a concave mirror. For convex mirror, you guys try it. Okay, next class we'll start with that only. As I told you, we'll be going into the mathematical details only. Next class, I'll show you how R is equal to 2F with respect to a convex mirror. And I will show you the derivation of mirror formula and few problems we'll do. Then we'll go to the concept of refraction. Okay. So till then, keep revising. If there is any doubt, reach out to me personally. Okay. That's it from my side for today, guys. We'll wind up.
Thank you, sir.
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 Yep.